In a recent episode of Outnumbered, there was a discussion on guns, specifically universal background checks, and it got kind of awesome.
Especially in a city like Chicago, which, by
I'm
the
not
way,
talking about just Chicago.
Rahm Emanuel has been lying about those crime statistics. He has reconfigured the way that they characterize it to make Chicago look like a beacon of hope.
I'm not talking about
so
Chicago.
he can get smacks on the back. Well, the president's talking about Chicago.
I'm talking about everything that's going on in this country, which is the fact that if you have a gun, legally, you're more likely to commit suicide, you're more likely to accidentally shoot somebody, you're more likely to shoot each other.
The majority of crimes committed in these cities are by
I'm not
illegal
talking
guns,
about cities.
killing
I'm talking about this
men
country. I'm
and
talking about this
minorities.
country. You want to selectively choose Chicago? I'm talking about
but
the
Willie made a
totality of
really
this
good
country.
point.
Should we go to New
Because
York?
more
Should we go to
people have
LA? Any
cars
city,
than have
pick
guns.
one.
I'm sorry?
More people, even on this couch. I mean, pretty much anywhere you made an excellent point. Are we going to take away everything that people use to kill each other? Because we're going to have to really start with the basics.
I will tell you something.
Like vehicles.
This woman,
swimming pool.
This woman was drunk, and we regulate people getting behind the wheel of a car when they're
but
drunk.
that's a substance.
It's a substance.
We're not
regulate.
regulating the car. We're regulating the substance.
We are regulating the substance. But we're not regulating guns, the thing that can kill you, one of the most dangerous
They are
things in the world.
regulated.
Yeah. They're not regulated.
Where did we go to guns aren't regulated?
Excuse me, where? How about a gun show where there's not a universal background check? How about the fact that you and I can give each other
How
a
do you
gun?
feel about
I can't give you a
background
car
check, really?
without registering it, but I can give you a gun without you having to register it? Come on.
Do you think if there's a universal background check, do you think it'll stop?
It will
people
stop.
from killing people?
Will it stop everything? No. Will I think it will vastly diminish? I'm sorry, we're the only country, we're one of the more advanced countries in the world that don't have this. There's a correlation between why we have so much gun violence in this country and other places don't. If we start burying our heads in the sand and talk about how everything is great and Second Amendment entitles you to absolutely no regulation on anything, what's going to end up happening is we're going to continue to have this gun violence.
There's not no regulation. You just have, it's false.
Sandra, what regulation if I can get a gun from you without anybody having to check my background? You can just give me a gun.
What's the question?
The question is, we don't have universal background checks in this country. That means a lot of people who should not have guns are able to
First of
buy
all,
them.
we're talking about Chicago, one of the cities with the strictest gun control laws in the country.
Yeah, and I could go to Indiana, across the border. It's not like Chicago's a self-contained city. I could go across the border to Indiana, where they have much looser gun control laws.
It just sounds like you're not going to be happy until guns are revoked.
Oh, I love that. That was great. Julie Rosinski, she just completely wiped the floor with pretty much everybody. But Chicago. No, they actually got rid of their laws against concealed carry. So, yes, you actually can have guns in Chicago. And she's right. You can just go across the border. Chicago is not self-contained. It's not in a bubble. It's not in a dome. You can go and get guns from Indiana and sneak them in. And you can do so easily without having to have somebody register it. She's absolutely right. Now, there's a few parts on that clip, or that weren't on that clip, that I do want to mention. Now, at one point, intellectual genius Willie Robertson added that, well, guns are regulated. If you buy a gun, believe me, you have to go through it. It's regulated. It's regulated. So wait a minute. So it's regulated. So you're telling me that even though there's regulation on guns, you can still get guns? Thanks. You actually just made the point that regulation doesn't actually prevent people from law-abiding citizens from getting guns. Great. Hey, nice job. We're actually starting at a factual point. Great. Now, there's another point that I want to address. And that's the ridiculous comparison that Harris Faulkner brought up between guns and cars. Oh, we don't regulate cars, right? Quote, are we going to take away everything that people use to kill each other? Because basically we're going to have to start with the basics. Like vehicles. See? Cars. Oh, you want to do this? You want to do this, Harris? Okay, let's do this. Cars are regulated. We have driver's training, license requirements, vision requirements, different kinds of licensing, depending on what kind of car or vehicle you try to drive, right? Mandatory insurance, registration with the government, tags, plates that police can check at any time to see whether or not you have a ticket on your record, which you can get from unsafely operating your vehicle, and much, much more. Do you want to compare cars with guns? Do you really? Is that the conversation you want to have? It's dumb. It's idiotic. But what Andrea Tinteros brings up is even stupider. Because she's like, swimming pools. Swimming pools. See, we don't regulate swimming pools. Better regulate those. Guess what? We already do. We already do. Pools are regulated. First of all, you can't build pools without a permit in a lot of places. You're also required in New York, and this is significant. In New York, you're required a regulation to have pool alarms that tell you if somebody's entered the pool. It has to be audible. And of course, you also have to have things like fences. In fact, a barrier, according to New York regulations, you have to have barriers that are at least 4 feet high, as well as other regulations. There are actually a lot of regulations on pools. So, what now, Andrea? What now? So please, make more stupid assumptions. Make my job easier. And see, this is sad, because the Fox News studio is in New York. She can't be asked to make an argument without actually looking up the fact that, oh, yeah, you know what? There are sensible regulations on pools. There are sensible regulations on cars. Can't even look that up. Nope, can't do it. Stupid. Stupid. Now, Julie Rosinski, by the way, is the absolute hero in this for trying to bring sense and not going crazy, debunking talking point after talking point. Well, she also pointed out how easy it is to do straw purchasing. Quote, I can't give you a car without registering, but I can give you a gun without registering. That's true. Now, of course, faced with facts, Sandra Smith goes to the usual gun nut talking point that, well, you're just not going to be happy until we get rid of guns, till all gun rights are revoked. This is where we end up with. When you can't actually fight on the facts, you start putting up straw men. There's that false assumption that we're after your gun. We're going to take your guns. No, we're not going to take your guns. That argument is intellectually honest or dishonest and intellectually bankrupt. But it's a great straw man. Oh, you just want to grab our guns. So we can't have any conversation about gun control because you immediately go to the idea, to the extreme of, well, obviously you just want to ban all guns. No, we don't want to ban all guns. We're not taking your guns. It's not going to happen in America. You've already won. You've already won. Even on simple things like background checks, which most of the American public supports universal background checks, you've won because you've scared our politicians. The NRA has scared our politicians so much they won't even vote on that. You've won. Congratulations. I hope you enjoyed the blood on your hands. We're not taking your guns, okay? And look, Australia, also, they didn't take the guns. I know you're going to be like, what? What are you talking about? No, the Australian government didn't take the guns. The people gave their guns away. They pressured their politicians to do something. They willingly gave up their weapons. They willingly gave them up. You know why? Because they were tired of mass shootings. They had one huge one. They had the Port Arthur shooting, and they were like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it. We know that more guns equals more violence, and we're tired of it. So take them. That's what Australia said. Now here in America, we're completely different. Our kids get slaughtered in schools and in people in movie theaters, and we do the opposite. We cling to our guns even more, even tighter. So I'm sorry, America, but we'll never do what Australia did. Maybe it's because we haven't had enough death yet. I don't know. Maybe we're not fed up. Maybe we're just desensitized. But the fact is that right now, that's never going to happen. So you've won. Enjoy it. That's our reality. And if the murder of 20 children in school isn't going to change our minds as a society and make us do something, I don't think anything ever will. That's our reality. Now, that said, this conversation started over the idea of universal background checks, which, as I said, are very, very popular. Now, I've got news for you guys. Background checks do not equal gun confiscation. Now, I know I'm going to have to explain this to people, and I still can't believe that I have to, especially to adults. Gun confiscation and background checks aren't the same thing. Oh, but wait, Jeff. No, slippery slope, right? Slippery slope. You do one thing. Obviously, if you do a background check, that's going to lead to gun confiscation and then Hitler. That's about as likely as how vehicle registration will somehow lead to vehicle confiscation. Right.